But seriously, do we have to forgive over and over and over again? Do we really have to be limitless in our forgiveness? Where's the justice in that? If we forgive someone over and over again for the wrongs that they have done for us, will they ever learn? I think these are the kinds of thoughts that run through our minds when we're waiting for the actions of another to reflect what we think our forgiveness warrants. In Matthew chapter 18, Jesus tells the story of a king who's got a servant who owes him 10,000 bags of gold. And in today's language, that's billions of dollars, about 200,000 years of labor. It's a debt that could never be paid, and the king forgives that debt. And then that forgiven servant has someone who owes him a far less debt, about $15,000, $20,000, and he refuses to forgive that debt. As many of us will gather around a Thanksgiving table this week and go into the holiday season, we may encounter people that we have been hurt by. So it's worth considering what Jesus is saying about forgiveness so we can better respond in our own lives as Christians. And Jesus specifically says that we are to forgive 77 times, or some translations say 70 times 7. The actual number is not the point. It's an infinite number of times. And that is just not how we understand forgiveness today. We put limits on our forgiveness because we tie forgiveness to reconciliation with the person. We tend to desire justice and a change of behavior before we even consider forgiveness. It's helpful to know that when Jesus is talking about forgiveness in verse 22, where he talks about the 77 times, it's good to know that in verse 21, the word that's translated to forgiveness actually means to send away or to let go of. So it's more like a release. We have this very natural instinct to exact justice or vengeance towards those who've hurt us. And so when Peter is talking about forgiveness, he is referring to letting go of our desire to impose vengeance. So Jesus is calling us to release our desire to be vengeful, to release it out of our hands and into the hands of God. It's so incredibly natural for us to seek revenge. We may even dress it up and call it justice. And we look to ourselves rather than to God to impose it. And I think we struggle to forgive because we think that it means letting them off the hook. But I think in this story, Jesus is teaching us that forgiveness is taking them off of our hook and putting them on God's hook. It's not about excusing what they did. It's about releasing the desire to control the outcome and the consequences for their actions. We are to release them over and over again, Jesus says. And many of the people that hurt us, that we need to release, will never repent. And so to hold on to that as a requirement for our forgiveness, it's holding a grudge that will ultimately eat us alive. It's poison for our soul. So Jesus knows that this lack of forgiveness won't be good for us. And so he isn't demanding obedience for the sake of obedience here. He's actually giving us a new way to understand forgiveness so we don't grow bitter in holding on to unforgiveness. We don't forgive to let them off the hook. We forgive to release them to God's hook.